Hello guys, welcome to my second Python tutorial. In the last tutorial, we covered a lot of elements in Python, such as values and operations in Python. For today's tutorial, we're now moving on to variables and other associated sections which have a linkage to variables. So last time we talked about operations, and as you saw operations in Python, usually we mainly focused on arithmetic operations. But then there was a major flaw to our system. So for example, imagine I wanted to add 5 million with different numbers. That means that every time I wanted to use the operation, that means you'd have to type out 5 million, 5 million, 5 million, and as you can see, 5 million is a real large number to print out every time. And so Python has devised a solution against such an occurrence, and they came up with what we call variables. So a variable in Python is a name that refers to a value. To be more precise, it is the name of the object that holds a value. So a variable is not the actual value, but then it just refers to the object in Python memory that is holding the value. So it's very easy to create a variable. You just need an assignment statement, and then usual assignment statement are like this: a is equal to 5 million. So next time, if I want to add up all these numbers with 5 million, instead of printing out 5 million again, I'll just be printing out a, and then the calculations will be carried out. That's how variables make our work very easy. So variables are not only for integers, but then they can be used they can be floats, they can be even strings. So let's try to print out these variables, which are here a, b, and see what will be printed out. Okay, so for here now, I've already made assignment statements, and what's now left is to run the code. So here I say that a is equal to 5 million. That's my variable. And then so let's try to print out these variables and see what will come out. See. So variables are very essential here. So now we have 5 million, we have 7.5, and we have I love Python. So it's like, see, variables are very good in the sense that, like, whenever I want to use 5 million, whenever I want to use 7.5, and whenever I have to use I love Python, I won't have to print them out again, but I'll just be pulling out them in a statement like where I want to use them. Like, instead of continuous repetition, you just call the variable, and then it prints out the value that it is holding. That's the magic with variables. Okay, so now we now want to proceed on to types of variables. So the types of variables, that's not a new concept, but variables actually check the type of the value they are holding. So for example, let's say we have variable a. So let's say print type of a, and then we come to print type of b, and we print type of c. Okay, we have to add one more extra bracket here, one more extra bracket, right? So now when we run the code, we see that the first one, 5 million, the variable a is an integer, the variable b is a float, the variable c is a string. So like the variables, it takes the type of the value that it is holding. Okay, so as I said in my first video, Python is a syntax. In a syntax, these syntax rules are the rules that govern how the Python programming language should be used, how we mix our tokens, and like it clearly details like how everything should be done in Python. So variable names also have a syntax. So for example, like there are three rules that governs the use of variable names. So like when you're writing a variable name, first thing, you can't not start with a number. If you start with a number, the syntax for a variable name becomes wrong. Then the second thing is that you cannot use a keyword. Like Python has keywords which are reserved for its special operations. Like it has some words which it uses to denote something. And then like the third thing, you cannot use a special character. So I think you all know numbers. I will just want to explain special characters and the keyword. So special characters are characters such as it, the dollar sign, these are the percentage sign, like the asterisks and in, like these are the special signs that I am referring to, the one which I just said out there. You can never include them in the name of a variable. Then as for keywords, as I said, these are words that Python have reserved for its use. So keywords include words such as false. So if I use false as the name of my variable, that will also be a wrong syntax because Python already has a special use for false. So if there are 33 keywords in Python, and you should just, okay, let me just show you the words. Here are the words we have: and, delete, from, there are a lot of words. So whenever you want to name out a variable and you're forgetting which one is a keyword and which one is a keyword and which one is not, there's a simple trick that you can do, or like there's a simple code that you can do to import all the keywords in Python and know which one is a keyword and which one is not. So you just say import keyword, and from there you just say print keyword dot kw list. So from there, okay, so for example, let me start by making these comments because they have a wrong syntax. That means that Python won't be able to do what I wanted to do with these statements still being operable. So here, right, Python now prints out all the keywords that it used. Here are false, none, true, and, is, asset, async, await, break, like all those keywords, they are listed out here. So okay, so now for now, let's just run out. Let's just run the code for these variables and see what Python will tell us, right? So okay, so we'll start by, okay, so let's start by the first one. If we run it, Python will tell us that we have a syntax error. As you can see, syntax error, this is an invalid syntax. Let's run the second one, print false. It is also a syntax error. So okay, so as I said, Python is case sensitive, and so for example, if you want to use a keyword like false, like if I were to use a small letter f, this is no longer a keyword, but it is a statement that can be a legal variable name. So I think if you want to use maybe a keyword, you can play around those syntax rules, such as Python being case sensitive, and then you can use them to stand out as your variable names. The next thing that we're now going to do are comments, the script mode, and the interactive mode. So what are comments? Comments in Python is everything that you write after printing out an image. So for example, let's say let's say I tell Python to print out 2 plus 3. Also, this is a statement that Python is supposed to run, and it will give me 5, right? But then if I add a hash, that means that Python will now regard this as a comment, and then whenever I tell Python to run, you see, nothing comes out. So Python is now regarding this one as a comment, and like comments are checking. Python takes them as statements which are there to explain the code to people who are going to be using the code, so it does not run the statement. So that's what are comments. And then as for the script mode, so what we're currently using right now to write our codes is what we call the script mode in Python. So the script mode is like, it is not interactive. It waits for you to tell it to do something. So for example, let's say I tell the script mode, like I print out 2 plus 3, or I say, okay, or I say x is equal to 17, and then I just write out x. So it's like here it will just take them out, like it will take these things, it may even pass them, but then like since you haven't told it anything to do, it won't do anything. But if I come here and print out 2 plus 3, it gives me a 5. But you see, if I run this code, nothing is okay. So here there's an indentation error, I think. Yeah, Python. Okay, so let me do this. Okay, so you see, after running it, you see that nothing is coming out. But if I come here and print out 2 plus 3, you see, give me 5. Like if I type out x is equal to 17, it will take it, and then if I write out x, it will give me 17. But then, like, whenever I run it from here, nothing comes out. So here in the interactive mode, like whatever I write out, Python carries it out instantly. But then in the script mode, Python waits for me to tell it what to do with the data. So like for example here, I may tell it out to print out 2 plus 3. Okay, you see, now it's now giving me what that from now here it what it will now print out the 5. But then if I don't tell it anything, it will just keep the data, but then it won't bring out anything. Yeah, like so that's the difference between the script mode and the interactive mode. So this is the interactive mode is usually run here in the shell, or what many call the console. Okay, for now we are now moving on to expressions and statements. So expression and statements are, so in Python we have what we call expressions and we have statements. So expressions are such statements such as 1 plus 4, or like x, so like all the values are expressions. Like if I write I love Python, this is also an expressions. So like expression, like in the script mode, like in the script mode usually Python does not do anything with expressions. In the interactive mode it runs them. But then like so for statements, we have two major statements, such as we have the assignment such as saying x is equal to 7, or print 7. Okay, so the major difference that I can say that is between expressions and statements is that like statements they tell Python to do something. So for example here x is equal to 7 is telling Python to reassign the value 7 to the variable x, and print 7, this statement is telling out Python that it has to print out, or it has to display the number 7, which is quite different from a statement. The statement is it's just any value that we write out, 1 plus 4, x, or 5, like those are just values which are there, but then like Python does not have to do anything concerning those values, you see. But then for statements, Python like is exclusively being told to do something with those values. It is either being told to assign a value to the variable, it is or it is being told to display out the value, such as what we are seeing over here. Arithmetic operations are only for integers and floats. We cannot use arithmetic operations as strings. For example, we cannot say a minus b or x divided by z, because strings don't carry out arithmetic operations. I think that's a very common concept in mathematics. So for example, if I try to run this code, like Python will give me a type error saying that it cannot use the subtraction operand for a string in a string. That does not make sense. So like although Python, those strings do not have the usual arithmetic operations, they have two peculiar operations that they can do. The first one is what we call repetition. So repetition is in the sense that, like, for example, if I write food as a string and I multiply it by 3, Python will be able to print out food 3 times. Okay, so let me run the code and you see, so now it brought out food, like it printed out the word food 3 times, such as, I think that's the common logic that we use also in our multiplying numbers. For example, if we say 5 times 3, that is 5 plus 5 plus 5. So food times 3 is also food, and food, you see. And then it also has another it is also another operation called string concatenation. So in string concatenation, what it does is that it joins two words. For example, I have my first word is will and my second word is power. So when I say tell the Python, so like when I print out first and second, it will bring them out as one statement, which will be will power. Yeah, so for Python, like when we're carrying out our arithmetical operations, Python is an order which it follows. So the order in Python is the same just as in mathematics. We call it PEMDAS. So PEMDAS stands for parentheses, exponentiation, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So for example, if I have my variable a, which contains 2 plus 3 multiplied by 7 minus 6 divided by 2, that means it will first, here we have no parentheses, so it will ignore the parentheses order. There is no exponentiation, but then we have multiplication. So it will first carry out this multiplication, and then soon after multiplication we have division. So it will then move on from this division, and then from there it will check for addition, which is here. So if we print out the value of a, we find out that the value of a is 20. So like if you find it hard to know like which one is going to start first or which one is which, the best thing is to use parentheses, because if you use parentheses, that means that Python is going to start by doing the parentheses and then move on to other arithmetic operations. So like here in, as we know, multiplication and division, like we can say they're on the same level like of operations, then followed by addition, subtraction, and then we start with parentheses and exponentiation. So in the case where in a case where we are required to have multiplication and division, since they are on the same level, Python will pass the statement from left to right. So it will start by carrying out the operations which will first appear starting from the left side, and then it will last carry out the operation which will last be seen, like or the first operation coming from the right side. So that's how Python carries out the operation. So let me give you an example. So for example, if I say b, okay, so let's say b is equal to, let's say 3 multiplied, okay, so let's say 3 divided by 2 multiplied by 7. Okay, so let's print out b and see. So you see, so instead of saying that, instead of multiplying out 2 and 7, which would give us 14, and dividing the equation by 3, which would give us something around 4.8 or 4.7, it divided 3 and 2, gave us 1.5, and then multiplied 1.5 by 7. So that's how it does. It starts from left to right for operations or orders which are in the same level.